Welcome to the podcast, Stories from the World of Science. Our mission is to explain science in a simple and fun form that is open to all.
Get ready for a deep dive, folks. This one's incredible. We're talking like a real movie-esque life story. Nobel Prizes, huge scientific breakthroughs, and you won't believe the twists and turns, honestly.
You know, right? This one's wild.
So today we're diving into the life of Mario Capecchi. Probably had the name right. Big deal in genetics.
Yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, for sure. Like revolutionary research kind of stuff.
Exactly. But okay, here's the thing. The real hook. Get this, his life story. Night and day compared to his achievements later on. I mean, think about it. A childhood totally consumed by war, right? Poverty, uncertainty. And from that somehow comes this incredible journey of scientific discovery. It's hard to wrap your head around.
Definitely a story of resilience, that's for sure. You said it.
So rewind with me a bit. Take us back to the beginning.
Okay, so picture Italy, 1937. That's where Mario's story starts. Born to, get this, a bohemian poet from a mom and an archaeologist's dad. Talk about a creative upbringing, right?
Wow. No kidding. Not exactly your average scientist's origin story. You don't often hear about that kind of background.
Right. You usually picture the struggling scientist thing.
Yeah.
But for Mario, his early years, they actually sound idyllic. Think rolling hills, a villa with a garden, private tutors, a world away from, what we might expect.
Wow, yeah. The contrast is pretty stark. Okay, but this is World War II we're talking about. Everything changes. How did the war impact Mario and his family?
So tragedy struck pretty early on. His mom, being a vocal anti-fascist and all, she was taken by the SS. Mario was only 3 years old.
Oh my gosh, that's off. I can't even imagine at that age to have that happen, to be separated from your mother like that, just ripped away.
Yeah, absolutely heartbreaking. And if that wasn't enough, he's then sent to live with this farming family, right? Talk about a complete 180 from his life before. And then to make matters even worse, at 4 years old, 4, he's wounded in an air raid.
Oh my gosh, at 4? Seriously, this is heavy stuff.
It is. And it doesn't even end there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because get this, Mario's story, it takes another turn when he ends up spending, the next few years as a street child in war-torn Italy.
You're kidding me. A street child? For how long are we even talking?
5 years. 5 years he lived on the streets, constantly moving, joining gangs just to survive, spending time in and out of orphanages. It's hard to even comprehend what he must have gone through during such a critical time in a child's life.
I can't even imagine. 5 years. It's a lifetime at that age. His resilience is astounding.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom. And, he did talk about it later. There are sources that mention these recurring nightmares he had, even years later. Like a haunting reminder of everything he went through. But even with all that darkness, there's this glimmer of hope in his story.
Okay, yeah, a glimmer of hope. Tell me there's a happy turn here.
There is. So picture this. It's Mario's 9th birthday. And get this, his mom, she reappears after all those years. Can you believe that?
No way. Are you serious? After all those years, she just shows up. That's unbelievable. So what was it like? I mean, after being separated for so long, going through so much, what was their reunion like?
Well, bittersweet. That's the thing. Imagine, right, being separated as a kid, going through years of hardship, not knowing, if you'll ever see your mom again. And then finally there she is. But the thing is, those experiences, they changed her.
Right.
Profoundly. Mario, he didn't even recognize her at first.
Wow. That's heavy. So what happened next? What did they do?
Well, they decided, you know what? Fresh start, new life. They moved to America, started over. Lived with Mario's uncle.
His uncle? Okay, hold on. Why are we talking about the uncle now? What's so special about him?
Remember how we talked about Mario's early life, the whole intellectual environment thing?
Yeah.
Well, get this. His uncle was this big shot physicist. The guy played a huge role in developing, wait for it, the electron microscope.
No way.
Yeah.
Seriously, talk about a scientific family, right? So did his uncle's work, did it influence Mario's path at all?
Absolutely. Living with him, it totally rekindled Mario's scientific curiosity. It was always there, just dormant. And, the rest is history. Mario goes on to study at Antioch College, then Harvard, becomes this renowned geneticist.
Wow, from literally a street kid to Harvard. That's amazing. What kind of research was he even doing at Harvard? What was he known for?
This is where it gets really cool. So Mario, he becomes fascinated by DNA, right? Specifically, this technique called knocking out genes in mice.
Knocking out genes. Okay, you're going to have to break that one down for me. What does that even mean?
But picture this. It's like flipping a switch in the DNA, right? By knocking out specific genes, deactivating them, essentially, scientists like Mario could study their role, figure out what those genes actually do in the body, how they affect different processes, diseases, all that.
Oh, interesting. So it's like they remove a gene, see what happens, and then they can figure out what that gene is responsible for.
Exactly. It's like puzzle pieces,
Yeah.
You take one out, see how the picture changes. And this technique, it completely revolutionized genetic research. It gave scientists this incredible new tool to unravel, well, the mysteries of the genome.
That's wild. So give me an example. Like, how does knocking out a gene in a mouse actually lead to a treatment for something? What's the connection?
Okay, so say you have a disease like cystic fibrosis, right? Horrible disease. By knocking out the gene responsible for it in a mouse, researchers can actually study how the disease progresses in a living organism. And this is huge because now they can test therapies, see what works, what doesn't, all with much greater precision.
Oh, wow. That makes sense. It's like having this window into how the body works on a genetic level. So did Mario Capecchi's work, did it directly lead to any treatments specifically?
Well, his work wasn't tied to one specific treatment. But, and this is key, the technique he helped pioneer, it paved the way for tons of medical advances. Think targeted therapies for cancer, gene therapies for genetic disorders, even new antibiotics. All of it stems from this ability to understand and manipulate genes, which is exactly what Mario Capecchi's research allowed.
That's amazing. Talk about a legacy, right?
Yeah.
His work basically impacted the entire field of medicine.
100%. And you know what that kind of impact gets you? The Nobel Prize in medicine, 2007. Yeah. But get this, the story doesn't end there.
Oh, come on. You're kidding, right? Another twist. After the Nobel Prize, what else could there possibly be? Okay, you can't just leave me hanging like that. Another twist. After the Nobel Prize, you got to spill it.
Right. Like it couldn't get any more wild. So picture this. You win a Nobel Prize, right? It's kind of a big deal. Word gets around. His story, especially his background, it really captured people's attention.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty hard to ignore a story like that. You go from those tough early years to the top of the scientific world. It's incredible.
It really is. And well, that's kind of where this woman, Marlene Bonelli, comes in. She hears about Mario's story and it just clicks.
Clicks how? What's the connection? What's her story?
Okay, so Marlene, she was adopted as a baby. She knew she had a brother, an older brother, but see, their mom, with her whole anti-Nazi past, it meant the kids had to be separated. Years of not knowing.
Oh, so they were separated during the war, and she had no idea if her brother was even alive, let alone a Nobel Prize winner.
I know, right? It's crazy. Talk about a family reunion. After 68 years, they finally reconnect. And get this, they meet in the Dolomites.
Yeah.
The exact place where they had spent those precious few months together as a family before everything changed.
68 years. That's unbelievable. Just goes to show you, right? Family is family.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting, Marlene talks about their mother's choice. It was impossible. But by sending her away, she gave Marlene a chance at a life without war, without all that horror, a chance she wouldn't have had otherwise.
It's true. Even in the darkest times, you see the best of humanity sometimes. And Mario's life, it's the ultimate example of resilience, isn't it? Surviving all that hardship, embracing knowledge, and ultimately changing the world with his work. Amazing.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you could ask Mario Capecchi one question, just one, about his life, his research, his journey, what would it be?
Right. It's a good question. And for our listeners, if you could ask Mario Capecchi one question, what would it be? What an incredible story. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the life of Mario Capecchi. It's a story about resilience, the power of science, and those unbreakable family bonds. We'll see you next time.